But yeah, I think it goes back to what we were saying before. It's one of those things where people are, they hear of, you know, Susie and Sally or whoever selling their home for, 600,000 more than what they paid for it 3 years ago. And there's kind of this unrealistic expectation of what you might get for your home. And there are anomalies still. You have a perfect, beautiful, brand new build home in a perfect neighborhood and the right buyer comes along. I mean, you're still going to get those kind of outliers. But from like what you just explained, 30-35 days on market, 600 and, I think it was what, 20-30,000 on average for the listings of the townhomes. I mean, that to me,
well, no, right now it's active. The average is 642,000.
Right.
35 days on market. So like that's interesting to me. Like, what if any of those sell within the next week? What are they going to sell for? What's the bottom line?
Yeah. And that's more of a balanced market, right? I mean, 30-35 days on market is really what the average typically is in Ottawa historically. I mean, if we looked at the last, we've been talking about the last 65 years when we were looking at those stats of year over year increase, I would say if we looked at average days on market as a whole over the last, 50, 60 years, it's probably going to be somewhere between 30 and 45 days. So, if we're just talking averages and historically speaking, like this is what would be a normal balanced market. Now, I don't think it's going to stay this way, which is why I it may be balanced right now, but will it be this way in 6 months? Unlikely. Either. And what I'm interested to know, like going into the winter, Greg, like what I can tell you what I think is going to happen, but I'd like to hear, like, what is your prediction as far as, number of listings, sale prices? Like, what do you think is actually, what are we going to see likely come this fall, winter?
I'm big on winter. I'm big on buying and selling in the winter for many reasons. A lot of people don't think that it's a good time to buy. Everything is generally down a bit. I'm going all in this winter. I'm pushing tons of marketing material to my sphere and to clientele for this winter because I think it's going to be an opportunity for everybody. More serious buyers. Interest rates will be kind of like everyone's okay with everything. They have it figured out. I think this winter is going to be good, but I mean, the last couple of years, the spring market started like the second week of January, marking like some of the highest sales ever. I remember I had that in 2021. I had the highest selling townhome in this one area of Orleans, and still nothing has sold for more than that since 2021 of the same style. And this one was just okay, but for whatever reason,
And that was what month? In 2021?
January.
Yeah.
It was the first home on the market. We had like 40 offers or something like that. It was ridiculous. Do I think that's going to happen again? No, but I think that buyers are also right now a little bit more accepting of the fact that this is what the interest rates are and they have to move forward. So of course, I mean, we know how it works, right? Interest rates are down, prices go up. Interest rates come up, prices come down. It balances out. But right now, whatever you're buying, you're going to be paying more, over long term, and hopefully a little bit of a lesser price, but you're still spending the same amount of money. So it comes down to what we talk about every week. Do you need to buy a home or do you not? Just, if you sit here and try to read the market all the time, you're never going to do anything. You're just going to be, I mean, we talk about this all the time. It's ridiculous. I feel like a broken record every time. It's like, just do or do not, basically. Get the information, do or do not. Don't sit and complain and cry about it and wait for the perfect moment, because that doesn't exist. And if you don't take the risks, then you're not going to move ahead in life. What do you want to do? What is your priority?
It's like anything, right? There's that kind of, analysis paralysis where you're just kind of constantly analyzing, is now good? Should I wait? Should I have done it? Should I, shoulda. And then it never happens, right? There's never any action taken. So it is important, as you said, there's never going to be a perfect time to buy, but understanding the market, understanding where you're buying, whether or not you can afford it, and then putting a roof over your head. And if you're renting currently and you have the capacity to buy, I mean, no matter how you slice it, you're definitely going to always come out ahead by buying, as opposed to, when you're renting, you're obviously paying the mortgage for the landlord or the owner of the home. So it's much better to be putting that money back in your pocket. I always look at my mortgage payment as like a true investment payment. Like I'm putting that money aside for, future consideration, whether or not the home appreciates or not. Even if it goes down slightly, I'm still putting that money aside that I'm not going to spend. I'm spending it on a roof over my head. And in, 15, 20 years, that money will come back to me in some capacity. So that's kind of how I think about the monthly payment. And I think it's important to, as you said, if you want to own a home, there's never a perfect time. You just have to kind of do it. And I mean, like I said, the first time I bought my home, the first home I bought, was in 2011. And I bought it for $212,000, and it was like a 3-bedroom townhome. And I, at that time, was not thinking, I'm going to make, 40% return on this. Should I do it? Should I not do it? I think my rate was 4% at the time. And that was just what it was. Like, it was just, I'm buying a home. This is the rate. This is the price. I sold it for $217,000 7 years later. I know I've talked about this, so sorry for anyone who's heard this story, but sold it for, it basically went up in value $5,000 over 7 years. But I was able to pull, $40,000 to $45,000 in equity out of the home, which I then used for the down payment on my next home. And the real kicker is that home that I sold for $217,000 a year later, when there was that huge bump, 2018, 19, 20, it's now, I think, listing at, they're over $400,000 for those same homes. So they've, literally doubled in value since I've sold it. And, I'm not kicking myself about it. It was a good purchase at that time. When I sold it, it was a good sale. It was a record sale on the street. I bought another, semi I got it a very good deal. I sold it for a record on that street at the time for that style of home. So it's just a matter of what's beneficial now. And then you reassess in 4 or 5 years, see where you're at, see what your goals are in life, and see if it makes sense to sell or refinance, renovate, and just keep going with the flow. But again, it all goes back to what you said, Greg. Do you want to own a home? And if you do, then, get in the game. And if you don't, then don't worry about it.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, because we'd really like that.